Honestly, there was no black teachers that I can look to. Every city that I lived in, I really didn't make a connection with a black teacher. So that was something that the school was lacking, because as a black student, I should have been able to go to my own kind of a teacher, which is a black teacher. Nothing against my white teachers, because I also had a connection with them as well. But there wasn't a teacher that was really for the black students, especially for me.
Black teachers are so beneficial to students growing up. I had two wonderful black teachers, one male and one female, and to this day, I still stay in contact with them. Just about 5 days ago, one of my teachers just texted me happy birthday. It's my 25th birthday, so that just shows you the conversations and relationships we had. They truly helped me, and I think black teachers are so important in building connections for both black and non-black students.
So I actually grew up in Waukegan, Illinois, and that city is mostly known for how diverse it is. So majority of the people and the students that I went to school with were of Hispanic or African American. I grew up having a few teachers and basketball coaches and principals, deans who were black. So I had a few black teachers take me under their wing and was really giving me the support and encouragement that they felt I needed for me to do well.
Higher education, I had a couple of professors that enlightened me upon various situations and that I could go to, but I predominantly knew them only because of the black faculty and staff. Like there was only one or maybe two that were actually my professors. And then K through 12, that was definitely something that I was lacking. And in higher education, that was something I was lacking. But K through 12 only had one black teacher, and that was my senior year. So, I had to go through all of K through 12 until then without much representation.
The teachers, the principals, the assistant principals, whatever, they make a difference between one culture to the black students. And what I mean by that, seems like the black students get more in trouble than the whites, the Mexicans, the Asians, Hispanics, all those different cultures. They're getting more expelled for things they probably didn't do. Why? Because they're not taking the time to listen to the students. Unfortunately, that is what the education system needs to do.
We can better serve black students by empowering their voices, showing them that their voices and experiences mean something. We can show compassion and grace by understanding their culture, and we can work to better incorporate that into their education and curriculum.
I think the best way to serve black students is to provide them opportunities to be around role models that look like them. Having a good amount of black educators, I think, is going to be important for black students. Having black teachers and principals was a great opportunity for me to see what more I could accomplish and things I could look forward to if I went and got higher education.
Over the next few years, to better serve black students, there needs to be a lot of things implemented in terms of programming. Teachers need to provide more equity for their black students, as well as they need to tap into their interests and to design the curriculum to where their history is also within it and not just certain aspects where it's you get a little bit here, you get a little bit of there.
When you're in school, or when I'm in school, do I get enough representation? I really don't. There can be a lot of representation. It's just who's willing to take the time to really talk to the students and make for sure they are going on the right path. Like I said, there are some schools that some students can't even go to their teachers and talk to because they feel they're going to be against them because the skin color or because the way they act, or they don't think they're good enough. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be judged off feelings. You should be able to want to help this student reach their potential, reach their goals, and get to where they need to be at in life.
I feel like there's a lot of representation. No, there's a specific type of representation, but not enough diversity or nuance. As a black man, I feel that the presence is important, but the diversity is just as important. Black children need to understand that the world is vast and that they can exist in our world beyond what they are usually allowed to see themselves as.
I think now there is more representation, whether it's positive or negative, is for you to say, but in my opinion, there's not enough positive representation. There's plenty of negative representation. Me personally, I don't think that vulgar music or provocative dancing is a sign of positive representation, especially when I'm trying to raise a child. The representation that we have now is the same. It's the same type type of people, the same type of dance moves, the same type of provocative attire. It's not changing. But if you were to go and look for that positive representation, you're going to find it. It's just not what is being pushed by the media.
There are a lot of things within our society that keep us stagnant, that keep us, down, that keep us oppressed. And our people are still suffering from that, greatly. And not greatly, tremendously. I know that in terms of my close friends, my family, we're very inspirational people, and we've done some very inspiring things, and we had to be inspired by someone, just to even get to where we're at. There's positive light and there's positive representation in many different places, but the negativity is just still, it's so mass. The light is more so shined on the negative aspects, and then those are where the stereotypes come from. Those are where the judgment and the inequity comes from, and the ignorance. When our people gain a more sense of self, like actual self, and not what this world has provided and corrupted and coerced us into thinking about ourselves and our people and our culture, then it'll be a way more positive light.
So I actually remember learning more Black history outside of school in movies and books that my mom would give me. Overall, I do feel that there is a repetition of the same things that are being taught in school. I remember learning about the same Black people in history that my 8-year-old is learning about today. And when are we going to learn about other people?
It was not very extensive at all. The quality was very watered down. It usually boiled down to the same messages: Lincoln freed the slaves, and the generic story of Martin Luther King Jr. But the details and the specifics of our culture, history, and experiences were never discussed.
Most of it was, the white people, where Columbus came and, stuff like that. So it was very minimum about listening to, Harriet Tubman and what she did for her people, and going under the, Underground Railroad, or Mr. Douglas, or, Rosa Parks. So to me, it was just a little bit that was taught, and I would like to know about my culture, not just from young students who haven't experienced that. I'm talking about older, wiser people who's been through the slavery, who's been through, a lot of stuff that we as young adults have never been through.
Black history was not taught to me in high school. There was only like a couple of key selections here or there, but you don't learn about the inventors. You don't learn about people who, made the substantial strides and created the implementations that are the whole reason why the nation is what it is today.
I truly do not feel that my voice is heard or taken into consideration. Most of the times I do feel that people are more dismissive to Black women because they don't believe what we are saying, or they don't think it's as serious as we are saying it is. We've been fighting the same fight for years, and yet we've made no real progress compared to the different groups that have felt that they were treated unfairly. And we've felt that we've been treated unfairly for years, and there has been no real hard-hitting progress compared to these other groups. So that is something that I'm still very upset about, and it brings me back to that feeling of not being heard the way that we want to be heard. And it's not just Black women, it's Black men as well. The Black population, it's always trying to voice ourselves. We're always trying to tell someone what's going on and how this is difficult for us to keep dealing with, and we want change, but it's not happening.
Being a Black man, and then also living around nothing but Black women, our intersectionality suffer a lot when it comes to this, because we have one of the most oppressed intersectionalities. Like, we have to validate everything, and we have to null and void everything as well. You just never feel like you're fully heard, or people actually take you into account. And when they do, they try to token you, or they try to make it like what you're saying isn't as deep as you're saying it, or they never grasp it that way because they can't conceptualize that at all.
It seems like students are divided. Let's have more groups. Let's have more things to do for all the cultures. What they should do is, have more clubs for the kids to do, have more activities for them to get into. Let's start having mentors there, because, students want to reach out to their teachers, not just counselors. They also want to reach out to their teachers. They also want to reach out to, how to succeed in life. They can't do that if they don't have, one, that representation. They can't do that if they don't have the right people to lead them on the correct path. They don't have that.
I believe it's simple by just allowing students to express themselves, whether that be through music, fashion, speech, attitudes, emotional development, representation, diversity. Students should be comfortable to set foot on campus or any school, and they should be able to be themselves. From back when do-rags were dress code, solid colored t-shirts was dress codes, and this is part of our culture. So this is, in a way, is taking away our identity and our diversity. So I believe that that's something we can change.
In showcasing the importance of identity and diversity, I think the school system should have more open discussions with people of different backgrounds and from different walks of life as well. And I think the influx of students being online right now, it's even more important for everyone to feel included and accepted. And having a diverse roster of teachers who can connect with students with different backgrounds is going to be so helpful for this. And so having people that, like I was saying earlier, having people that look like the students, for the students to be able to relate, is going to be very helpful in this process.
First, you have to have, teachers and principals and superintendents and counselors that actually care about that. When you have those that are in professional positions and that's not one of their main interests, like their main interest is just getting a paycheck, then the school suffers. People are only worried about getting paid, and that's really a problem we have, today in our society. Nobody really cares about the humane aspects that needs to be implemented into certain areas and are a necessity in certain areas.
I actually came across this YouTube video of strangers in a park. They were sat back to back, facing away from each other, and they were given some questions to ask each other. And this video became very emotional for the participants because it was questions that caused them to think deeply and really let their emotions out. So I think this will be a really good starting point for students. Even other college campuses as well can do something like this, where you have the students sitting facing away from each other and they're asking each other questions, and they don't have any information about that other student's background, the other student's race, the other student's upbringing. They don't have any of this information. They are just going to be asking the questions, and in the end they meet each other. And it's a good way to start the conversation. I believe that from experience, some do realize that they have more in common with this other person than they think. But they wouldn't have realized that because they're seeing things face value. Things that they probably would have had bias on, they're not gonna want to have a conversation with this person. But having the time where they can just understand each other without having that initial bias about each other, I think is going to be the best way to have this conversation start. So they're seeing beyond complexion, they're seeing beyond culture, and they're actually finding out that they are very similar in more than one or two ways. They have more in common than they thought.
I would say have people come to the school and talk about Black history, talk about different issues, talk about the race, the identity, the culture, talk about that. Not just videos. We can learn off the videos too, but let's have people that experienced that and went through it. Let's talk to them about it.
I've been to many different conferences. I've been to the National Conference of Race and Ethnicity. I've been to the National Student Leadership and Diversity Convention, various SOB conferences, Student African American Brotherhood, various social justice summits, and that's where a lot, and as well as a lot of events, whether it's BSU, working alongside NPHC. I was a student lead in the Pan-African Student Success Center, and that's where a lot of my conversations revolved around our culture and everything that's going on within our society regarding us. That would be a great way to have more discussions, and if more higher educations, more institutions were to send out their students who are, from those cultures, from those impoverished neighborhoods, from those marginalized neighborhoods, the misrepresented and underrepresented communities, there'll never be equal opportunity until we actually take the strides to diminish those in terms of the legal system, the education system, the medical system. There's so many things where there's racist and oppressive systems in place and things that are like our everyday life, our everyday engine. Nothing can ever function in a humane way if other intersectionalities can't actually get what they deserve because the lack of awareness and the lack of acceptance of what past society has done.